Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Welcome, everyone, to our newest podcast episode. We're so excited. We have an amazing guest. His name is Adam Holbrook. His company is Lead to Learning, and that's the number 2, Lead to Learning. He has an amazing story to tell, and he's doing great things in the world, and we can't wait to hear all about it. So welcome, Adam, to the podcast.
Thank you. And thank you both for having me. Super excited to be here with you both and add value to the listeners and just be able to have a great conversation.
We appreciate it. We just so love these interviews. We're like, we have the best job ever. We get to talk to amazing people and learn new things and share great things and tips out to the world. So my first thing to you is, how did you get into coaching? How did this business come around for you?
Great question. And let's just dive right into it because I don't like small talk. I had a business. I had a very successful business. I've sold 2 companies already. My last company, I had the best life in a lot of people's eyes. Every day I'd wake up, I'd go to my mailbox, I'd get a stack full of checks, spend the next hour opening checks, sipping on a cup of coffee. After I do that, I tell a couple employees what to do, and then I go to the gym and exercise. After I was done exercising, I go hit golf balls every single day for 2 years. But I got bored with it. People think that the magic, as soon as they retire, they're at that magic finish line. I'm here to tell you, there is no such thing. I have everything that I want in life. It's no longer about me. If I make it about others, I feel deep down inside that I'm giving my gift to others. That's how I got here. I was able to sell my last business, which was being approached. I sold it to Culligan Water in 2020, January 14th, 2020, right before COVID hit. And I feel like the luckiest guy in the world that I was able to get rid of it right at that point. And I said, I want to make a difference in this world, but I didn't know how. So I joined the John Maxwell team and I learned all about how to become a coach, a trainer, and speaker. I love it. I love everything about it. I know the struggles within the business. I am here to help your listeners. I know you're speaking to a lot of coaches and they're like, well, coaching only can go so far. There's only so many clients I can get to pay me $250 or $500 per hour. How do I explode this thing?
Wow, what an interesting journey you've been on. What led you to John Maxwell?
I got information about how to live a better life. Like I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a trainer. I wanted to speak in front of audiences, but I just didn't know how. I didn't know what the answers were. I knew that I thought I had a gift and I wanted to be in front of audiences. And little did I know, nobody was hiring me. Just because I sold a couple companies, nobody was like jumping at me, we want you on our team. It wasn't that way. I needed to learn how to do a whole new craft, a whole nother business. And everything that we do is a stepping stone in our life. So instead of just asking ourselves, like, what do I have to do today? What can I do today? And then the next day, keep building it up. And then you'll start noticing as you're in business, the longer you're in business, more credibility you'll get and the more gigs that you'll get. But if you are chasing a client over and over again, you need to find, hear me out, coaches. If you are consistently going out and seeking these clients and chasing that's $250 an hour a client, that's $500 an hour client, and your worth is based upon just that, you're going to always be chasing in your life. Number one, you need to find something where you can make income, some money on the side where it's consistently generating some income, whether it's a book. My book has just came out this past week. It's called Character Evolution. It's about developing yourself. I'm no longer chasing money, but I don't want to chase anything, but I want to add value consistently. And if I'm adding value consistently, then I know that I'm taking my clients, my people to where they want to get to in life. And I love helping people. And I know you like helping people too, but one-on-one is great. But how can I do it more consistently. And if I'm always chasing those one-on-one business coaching clients, that's great. But how can I get a book? How can I build a program where I can speak in front of not just one person, but in front of hundreds? I spoke in front of 10,500 people last month, right? So that kind of stuff is what is going to project this whole business of yours forward. But many times people believe that they need to wait for their big break. That is not the answer. You need to make yourself better now. You need to create that program now. Create the program, work it. Every morning, I go for a morning walk and I'm working on these speeches in my mind, making sure it's perfect. And when it's perfect, and I play with every single word, the program is built. And now I can go find the customer, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Jeannie and I have, a larger program that we've had for 5 or 6 years now, and very successful. And that one requires a sales call. So we have a new program coming out, and it will be, we'll be able to sell it with just a landing page and that kind of thing. So there's also thinking about what type of program. Is your program going to require sales calls, or is it something that people can click to buy? So I think all of those are great things to think about, because we do want to leverage our time. I still have one-on-one clients. And in fact, I have one-on-one clients I've had for over a decade. So I love one-on-one, but it's a percentage of our business. It's not all of our business. And I always tell people, don't give up what you love doing. If you really love doing one-on-one, but you can add to that, add other things, other revenue streams to that. Yeah,
for sure. And I was doing a lot of work with one-on-one clients, and I wanted to get in with the schools, but with teaching leadership training. But as hard as I was banging on those doors, as much cold calling as I was doing, I was failing. And by the way, I was failing forward, not backwards. I was learning what's right and what's wrong. And somebody gave me the advice: you need to give the teachers something immediate that they need to get your foot in the door, because there's so many people out there that are teaching leadership training. And I'm like, okay, what is that? And they said to me, you need to teach the teachers how to get the kids to behave in the classroom management. And I said, that's interesting. So I decided to get that program and certified in that program and get good at that. And I marketed it. As soon as I marketed it, these schools went after it. They grabbed it and they went with it, because I was listening to what the audience wanted, who I was marketing to. And everybody wants leadership training, but as you know, in personal development and leadership, you can't own that stuff overnight, but people want immediate fixes. People are chasing instant gratification all the time. But if we can give them something, some strategies, how to get the kids to behave in the classroom, your foot is in the door. And now I can give them the leadership training. Now I can give them the personal development, what I truly am passionate about. Now I can give them my book. Instead of selling the classroom management book, I sell my book to the event. So all attendees have to have my book coming into the event. So there's lots of fun ways, exciting ways to build your program, but you just have to ask yourself what direction you want to go, because a lot of times we're just like caught up, like, do I do this? Do I do this? You really kind of dive into what you feel is right for you, because a lot of people will just try a little things for today and then they'll try something new tomorrow. You really got to give it your full force and just over and over, and know that you're going to fail, and eventually you'll start having more and more victories.
Well, if you think about it, when you changed it to the benefit, classroom management, so you changed what you were selling to the benefit of what they get out of it, right? They get that through personal development and leadership training, but they really wanted the result. And I think that's something that a lot of us have a harder time doing, is focusing more on the result, focusing on the transformation that person wants, rather than how you're going to get them there. Because we're all so excited about what we do. I'm sure you're like a fantastic leadership trainer. You have all these great tools and techniques and things you can teach people, so you're excited about it. But when you lead with the end result, then I think doors open really easily. And that's just fantastic.
I love that. Well, the strategies, they want to know the strategies, what works for them. And you know what I recognize works best is I've gone to many seminars. I've worked with groups of speakers, and what works best is the art of storytelling. Mm-hmm. There is nothing more compelling, more better than a story, right? If I get up there and I start telling you what to do, I do X, Y, and Z, it won't work. But if I tell you a story, like, you guys mind if I tell a quick story?
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna request that.
I hate doing dishes. Every morning and night, these dishes pile up in the sink. I think about using paper plates all the time. I even had a conversation with my wife about hiring someone to do the dishes for us. I even tried to con the kids into doing the dishes. But after the first day, the excitement wore off and I was back at it doing the dishes. And I wanted the entire world to know that I hate doing dishes. But that's what I initially thought. But as I started to gain the clarity to the real reason I hated doing dishes, it wasn't the task of doing dishes that I hated at all. It was giving up the time to do them. You see, I was struggling to find the consistent time for doing something that I love, something that would bring me success, which was reading. I couldn't get a hold of that consistent time for reading. And I was taking it out on the dishes. That's when I had a gigantic aha moment. Immediately after doing the dishes, I take Luna, our dog, just like you, Kirsten, you have a dog. I take Luna for a walk right after doing the dishes. I decided to buy my first audiobook. And I started to listen to audiobooks while I was walking Luna. And this has worked out great. Luna's much happier. She gets longer walks. And I'm listening to my audios, and it's actually propelled me to listen to my audios while driving in the car. Every frustration we have is an opportunity to get to know ourselves better. It's not your spouse's fault. It's not your employer's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your boss's fault that he promoted somebody else, not you. Make yourself more promotable or go work for an organization that sees your value. It's not your spouse's fault you gained 10 pounds because they're cooking too much food. Practice self-control or exercising. It's not your parents' fault that they push your buttons. Practice setting boundaries. So it's really about being specific, asking yourself, what is your frustration that you currently have? What are some specifics of what frustrates you? It's not about the other person, but what is it about you that's frustrating you and you're internally? And then you list some changes. Many times people believe they need to pick the right thing to start with. What specifically do I need to start with in order to make these changes? And that's simply not true. Just start moving in that direction, and then the path will get clearer and clearer as time goes on. But just moving in that direction. But you also have to evaluate while you start moving, right? Because if you don't evaluate while you're going, you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're getting the same result. So it's really about gaining the awareness of your frustration, just like I did with these dishes, right? And by me telling this story, it's really about, number one, being vulnerable. Me saying to you, you know what? I don't have this whole life thing figured out as a coach, right? Nobody wants to deal with these other coaches that be like, oh yeah, I know all the answers. No, they want to hear you as a human. They want to hear that you have the same struggles as them, but you were able to figure it out. But giving the art of storytelling is so powerful.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was like, you should listen to a book while you're washing the dishes. Or
you knew that. I didn't know that.
It's so funny. Yeah, we can go through so many books, because we always have tasks to do. There's cleaning the house, there's doing the dishes, there's the laundry, like you said, there's walking the dog, there's drive time. There's always things that we need to do. And I feel like that's kind of that habit stacking, right? By adding on something that you enjoy, which is, listening to a book, you can get those tasks done that don't require a whole lot of brain power. You just need to physically be in action. And I love that. And you're so right with sharing a story with someone and letting them know where you were and what you were frustrated with. It makes them think, okay, well, it's okay that I'm frustrated. Yes. It's okay that I'm where I am right now because there's something I can do. There's probably a solution that can come to me. So it's so important. Yeah. When I was in real estate, I used to always say there's no such thing as a perfect house, just like there's no such thing as a perfect person. Right. So you're shopping for a house, you're going to find a house that, maybe has 80% of what you want. But when we chase perfection, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Right.
But then you're unhappy.
They want to know that you're human. And if you read my book, here's the thing with my book. I'm going to come out and say this, right?
Sure.
People are going to read my book and I hold myself up like high. I have such great values. I believe I am honest all the time. I have super integrity. That's why my book is called Character Evolution. But if I wrote about how great I am and how I sold these businesses and how well, nobody cares. Right. But if I tell the story how I had a victim's mindset and I let this one of my employees of the past that I didn't treat him really good. He asked me for a cash advance for $1,000 because he was going to get kicked out of his apartment. And I decided to give him the $1,000. And the next day he doesn't show up for work. And then I decide I'm going to show up at his apartment to get my money back. I'm banging on his door, give me my money back. And he finally answers the door. I'm like, give me my money back. He's like, I don't have it. I spent it. I decide to plow my way into his apartment. Like I was crazy. I was crazy. And I looking around for something of value I can take. I don't see anything. There's just like a couple pieces of clothes on the floor. I see a window air conditioning unit. I put my arms around the window air conditioning unit. I yank the thing out of the window and I remove the bolts that secure it to the window out. Things like this. And I said to him, I'm taking this, as I walk out of his apartment with a false sense of victory. And this, I wasn't a good person, right? I paid him less money than he was worth. I also belittled him. I gave him the overnight shift instead of the shift that he wanted because I knew he would take it. Right. So I was taking advantage of other people and it was spiraling out of control for me. My life started spiraling out of control till the day I was on the cliff. I had pictured it millions of times. I was going to take my car. I wanted to drive off a cliff and I wanted to end my life. Thought about it millions of times. And I'm on that cliff that day, Christmas Eve, 2005. I'm on the cliff. I'm going to drive off and I'm going to end my life. My dad called me that night. I was drunk. I wrote a suicide note. And it was Christmas Eve. He said to me, he loves me. And he tells me that Merry Christmas. And that was like the first time that he said he loved me in like a very long time, which caused me to cry myself to sleep in my car the next day, came home from work the next day, and I decided to post my first business for sale. And I was able to sell it 4 months later for like $220,000 at the age of 27 years old, which was more money than I had ever seen in my adult life. And the problem was I didn't have any gratitude for others. I didn't have gratitude for myself. The only gratitude I had for this guy was the universe was the next day was one of the hottest days of the year. I took his air conditioner unit. Now he gets to sweat his butt off. Like I was so messed up. What I'm scared about most is these stories, right? These powerful stories that you're on the edge, like, whoa, you're going to read this book. Like, whoa, this dude is messed up. And I really was. I was spiraling out of control. And I was just in a place, dark place that I did wrong to people all the time. People did me wrong. I was working harder than anyone around me. I was working 100 hours every single week for more than 3 years. And I was spiraling out of control because I wasn't a good person. And that's why my success was limited. Right? So by making myself into the better person that I am today, I'm able to have everything that I want in life. And that, to me, I still have problems. We all have problems, right? But when you have an attitude of gratitude, the good will always be better and the bad are never quite as bad as it once seemed. So when my family reads this book, oh man, I'm waiting. They're getting it today. They're getting it today. They're going to start reading this thing and they're going to be like, whoa. But there's a transformational process in it. And there's a lot of good stuff in this, a lot of great stories that are going to keep you on edge. And that is my point. I don't want the reader to read this story and say, oh, this guy is so cool. He's so rich and he's so this. No. I want you to read this story and be like, wow, this dude is messed up. If this guy is this messed up and he's now good, then I can be good now too.
That's so awesome. Yeah. And what was your turning point? What was the point when you decided you had to turn things around?
Well, I sold the business. I felt like that to me was an act of God, some other universal. Several months after I sold my company, I met my future wife. I had my first date with my future wife. And she was so grateful for everything. She was grateful for this and grateful for that. And I was like, I'm going to lose this girl if I don't act grateful. So I started to pretend to be grateful. right? Because in the beginning, you have to fake it till you make it, right? So I started to pretend myself into being grateful. I'm so grateful. I didn't want to lose her, right? She was like the best thing that's ever come in my life. Pretended. So as I started to pretend, I started to get some wins. All of a sudden, I started to pretend being grateful more. I started getting more wins. Before I knew it, gratitude kind of took over my entire body. And with hard work, determination, and having an attitude of gratitude, I can have everything I want in life.
Wow,
I love
that's
that.
amazing. Yeah, maybe we need to have her on the podcast too.
Yeah, she would be great. Yeah, she's wonderful. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. But I think we all have different turning points. But I think we all need to hit rock bottom at some point too, right? I think rock bottom, we've all had a rough patch, but that rock bottom is what teaches us the lessons that we need to take. And the art of storytelling is so important for your speaking engagements. And if you can just perfect a story, your audience will be moved and they're going to want to listen to you. And then you'll be able to give them everything that they want and they'll actually pay attention. But even the solution, I believe, should be in a story. That's me anyway.
Well, you've given us so much valuable information. So I kind of hate to ask for this last thing, but
fill your cup up every single day. Fill your cup up, right? You mind if I tell a story?
Sure.
No, go right ahead.
Right before COVID, I had started this business, the leadership training, speaking, and coaching business. All of a sudden, COVID-19 hits. And I'm home with my kids every single day. My days went from being motivated to learn and get better to homeschooling my kids, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, breaking up their bickering. I found myself going to the bathroom several times an hour just to check on social media. After about a month, I said, I need to find something for myself because my cup was completely empty. I decided I wanted to fulfill one of my childhood dreams, which was I wanted to get on stage and make muscles in a bodybuilding competition, right? I had always worked out my whole life, but I always failed to get the body that I had wanted. So I hired an online trainer and he gave it to me straight. He's like, if you want to get on stage, you got to start weighing and measuring your food. So every morning I wake up before the kids and I go downstairs, exercise. I come upstairs, I meal prep for the day, making sure I was weighing, measuring the food. After a year, I was able to get on stage and compete in my first bodybuilding competition. I actually won first place for the over 40 category for the men's physique. No, wait. Before you get all excited and say, go Adam, go. This competition was on the downturn of COVID. So there wasn't a whole lot of competitors there. And when they announced the competitors for the masters category, I was the only one. So I actually won first place, but I was the only one out there. But the bottom line of that entire story is that every day I was doing something for myself.
If you could give a simple tip that everyone could do today to make the world a better place, what would it be?
Every day I was pouring into myself, filling my cup up, exercising, meal prepping for the day. And I loved being home with the kids. I loved every moment of it. We went for hikes every day. We were hanging out with families that were in our pods at the time. It was so great. I didn't want I want to keep COVID to end, obviously, but I didn't want to stop being with my kids because I loved it so much because my cup was being filled. You can't effectively connect with another person unless you connect with yourself first.
Amazing. Adam, we'll tell people how they can get in touch with you and we'll put whatever information you give us in the show notes.
Great. You can find me on Facebook at adam.holbrook.12. You can email me at info@adam-holbrook.com. And I mean, I have Instagram as well, but Facebook is my main social media platform. Again, with like giving the gift to your coaches. Sometimes social media can overtake us, right? But just I like to find one platform that works really well with me. I post to the other platforms here and there, but I really just go after the one platform because that's what works for me.
All right, we'll add your information and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.